Welcome to another episode of the Bamboo Season Podcast. I'm your host, Sober Fitness Coach Dorian Wormsley. Now, as you see, I got my Cowboys gear on. They beat the Raiders. This shirt was a gift from my client for Christmas, who is a Raiders fan. So you're hearing it first here. This is our year. Now, before we hop in today's episode, have you ever found yourself saying, hey, I need to cut back on drinking. I need to change my habits.
I need to drink if you're going to wear that shirt.
But you never seem to follow through? That's cognitive dissonance happening in action. An upcoming webinar, I'm going to help you break that down and make your actions align with your intentions. I'll put the link in the description of this podcast. Free webinar, September 17th on Zoom. Now, before I bring in these two amazing guests, there's something I had to say. You can't keep expecting people to put you in a position to be successful and put you in a position to make some money. Nobody owes you anything. I recently had somebody approach me feeling some way because I did initially make them a part of an event I had. Now, I think it's important that you focus on adding value to wherever you go. And when you do that, the opportunities are going to come to you without even a second guess. Two guests today I'm bringing in are very big in the community here in Vegas. Very uplifting and doing very powerful things. I've met them both more recently. And in the month I've met them, they've given me so much information and inspiration to increase myself as a business person and as a man. First, I'll introduce my man, Devin Moore.
Dude.
Yo.
What up, Devin? Go ahead and give us a little spiel of what you do, who you are, where you're from.
Yeah. One, I thank you for the podcast and the vision of this. It's a great opportunity, and I like what you're doing, of course. And for the event you just had, kudos to you for that as well. Devin Moore, I'm a native in the city, so the work I do comes out of the passion. I want to see our city grow for our community, and not just economically, but from a holistic standpoint. There's a lot of opportunity in our city. The city has never been inclusive of us. And so I'm a person that is really big on being active and part of the solution versus complaining, crying, sitting on the side, thinking all day. I'm really big on actually just being involved and being active to come up with ways to build bridges, to build bonds, to build better community for us all. So. Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah. And the other guest we have is my man, Coach Rob Chandler, the fourth. Yeah, baby, 4 generations. I love that.
Well, it's actually 5. So my son, the oldest, is the 5th generation.
Oh, is he? Okay.
And so his name is RL. So for me, again, thank you for having me on. Yeah. Being able to share my story and whoever this can help, so be it. I'm from Chicago, probably been in Vegas almost 12 years now. I consider myself now a local. I came here for one reason, my boys. That was it. I wanted to give them a fighting chance and having a life that they can create and dream, and I didn't feel like they were going to be able to get it in Chicago. And so we moved out here about 11, 12 years ago, and everything that I do and have done is for them. Right, to be able to teach them life, as I like to say it, from one side of the tracks versus the side of the tracks that I had to grow up and learn about life. And so now being here and showing them that they're 17 and 15, one just graduated, and I own multiple businesses, but currently right now I'm a franchise owner of a unique concept of ice cream and donuts called Yonutz. And I bought into that franchise because I wanted to teach them about business and credit, things that I knew they weren't going to learn in school. And from that point, it just kind of like expanded on its own to where, so many people from the community like, hey, how can we use this to help do fundraisers? And can my kids work here? And can you teach them? So my store is not about just hiring employees, but more about those who want to come in, who want to become an entrepreneur or learn some different leadership type of skills. Okay. So that's where I am right now.
I love that concept. And to piggyback off what you said, you're from Chicago. At growing up there, I mean, I've never been, but obviously I've seen and heard of the perception, how dangerous it is and how things can be out there. Did you get into any trouble as a kid when you were your kid's age?
I stayed in trouble.
Really?
I kid you not. I mean, I came up in Chicago, but when I came up, in Chicago, I mean, man, like I'm at level 54 of my life, so that was like 70s and 80s, and it was different then.
Yeah.
It was like honor amongst thieves. Then now it's just a lot of just cowboy stuff going on right now. No one has any respect even for amongst the thieves. And so for me, I stayed in trouble, but man, I can't even imagine the trouble I would be in at this generation of what's going on in Chicago.
Man, I couldn't either. And Dev, what about you growing up here in Vegas, and were there any things you got into as a younger adult, trouble-wise and things of that nature?
So weirdly enough, honestly, I really didn't, because my dad was such a disciplinarian at the early stages, so I really feared consequences.
Okay.
And growing up in the 80s, crack babies and craziness, Wild West here with the infiltration of California with guns, drugs, and gangs, the city was very wild. And I thank God I survived through it, was all around it. Growing up on the black side of town, we had been cannibalized by gangs, so my neighborhood was a gang, but my friends were in all different kind of gangs in different neighborhoods. And so you had to be, of course, careful what you wore, where you went, how you talked and stuff. And as a result of that, fortunately, I was able to navigate it, those crazy waters, and it's no different than navigating the waters of business now. So those are some lessons that I kind of was able to use and then transfer to today. But man, I stayed away from trouble. I've never smoked anything at all, not cigarettes, not cigars, not weed, nothing. I've never been drunk. I've just always been afraid of consequences or not being in control of myself. So in that regard, I've lived what I call a square life to some degree as a result of that. Yeah.
Was there anybody in your family that had drug or drinking problems that maybe you kind of saw and I don't want to be like them?
Absolutely. Like my mother's brothers, one early on, he smoked some weed and was laced.
Oh, shit.
And I've not known him to have a sober mind at all. Then her other brother was, drugs, coke, and, he was always strung out. And then he got, normal for a while. Then he was back strung out. And then on my father's side, I think all of his brothers at some point had a stint with drugs. My oldest uncle had a long stint with drugs, but now, he was in the military, and after he still had a period of drugs, but he recovered out of it, man, and he's doing extremely well, teaching some class. He's been teaching for tech companies for a long, probably 30 years now on the high end, teaching executive teams of information technology on how to run this. So, on both sides, man. And so I was reflecting, short story, there's a new Netflix documentary out called Daughters.
Oh, I've seen that. I don't watch it, but I saw the trailer.
So I've not watched it. One of my closest friends watched it, and he was telling me about it, and he told me how it made him cry ugly tears, and he was, trying to hold it back. So one of the things that after that conversation, we start to unravel our lives growing up, and as even men, and I really had to reflect, like, man, I really didn't have a man really in my life as I matriculated through high school, college, and even into adulthood that was consistently there, encouraging me, helping direct, giving advice. I never really had that. There were men, uncles and stuff that for periods of time they would come for a sec. They had expectations of me, but it was never that constant deposits into me. They just expected me to do good because I always was a good kid.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of what my life was.
And Rob, what about you? I didn't get to ask you. Did you have a father figure in your life growing up?
Yeah. So I grew up on the low end of Chicago, and I was probably one of the most fortunate kids there because I was like 1 out of 5 families there that had both the parents in the household.
Nice.
Like I was like one of the very few in the hood, in the ghetto of Chicago that had both the parents.
Blessed.
And so I learned everything who I am now from my father. And he was, we call them entrepreneurs today. Back then, you called them hustlers.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And that was his life. He did from the horse, the racetrack, to the lottery, running the numbers, to selling all types of items in the beauty shops, in the barber shops. Anybody hit the trucks and the trains, they came in with all the things you get from Walgreens. He was that guy. He was selling lingerie. So
hustler for real.
Right. He was. So for me, at 7 and 8 years old, like today they call them like dollar loan stores.
Yeah.
Back then we called them currency exchanges, where people would go cash their paychecks, and he would drop me off on a Saturday a.m. with a bunch of meat that you probably get from Costco, but from the meat house, set me up there, and I'll be selling meat to everybody that came in and cashed their checks on the 1st and the 15th and their food stamps.
Wow. Yeah.
So he taught me life, the game, hustle, then all my uncles and everybody around. So I was surrounded by men, right? And literally like 4 or 5 sisters because he had a previous marriage. And so my life has always been around family, but my father was there.
Yeah.
And the crazy part about it was I still got in trouble. But I think because I was just out there so young and just being exposed to so much so fast. Like I was driving at 12 years old.
Yeah.
I was on the streets driving from one end of the city to the other, picking up the guys and everything. So I was like this risk taking. And what can be perceived then as bad now is a gift.
Yeah.
It's a gift. And so, some similar to what you were kind of talking about before the show started, it ain't in everybody. It ain't in everybody to just take those risks like that, And someone once told me, he said, Rob, you know why they made sidewalks? Because the streets ain't for everybody.
Ooh.
When you think about it, like, man, it is true.
Yeah.
So that was my upbringing, man. Like I came in the family, my father was there, and I've been taught to hustle and grind ever since. And so for me, how can I do this better where I don't repeat the same cycle that my father was taught?
Now, I know you guys both own your own successful business. I know you have Yonutz going on. I've been there. Great donuts. I know you own Mariposa. What other restaurants are you owner of?
No, we just have that one, but So
with you two, was there anybody in your family that had that entrepreneur mindset or anything like that to where you kind of felt like you can do it? That's kind of what got you to where you're at?
Yeah, no. So weirdly enough, there was a bunch of entrepreneurs around me in my family.
Okay.
My older brother, and you may have met him because he works in Mariposa with me now.
Okay.
But he had amazing, like in his 30s, when I had moved back to Vegas from living in Hawaii, he had his own company and was making a lot of money. In like his 30s, he lived in Green Valley, Henderson, like a 6-bedroom home, probably now worth, $1.3 million. I mean, it's huge, right?
He still has it?
No, he is sold.
Oh.
But in his 30s, he was living next door to do you remember the boxer Kevin Kelly?
Yeah.
He was living next door to Kevin Kelly, right?
Okay.
Kevin Kelly was a successful boxer.
Okay.
And that was his neighborhood, right? And my brother's 36. Like, he's a young man, just hustle, grind, and grit, but then that was one. My uncle was one. I had a cousin that's had, hair salon and things like that. So there were multiple entrepreneurs and business owners around me that I was able to see it and say, okay, there's no reason why I can't. So, yeah, I grew up that way, too.
Okay. What about you, Rob?
That's all I knew was hustling.
Yeah.
I try to have a job. I try to go square. I try to go square and get a job. I mean, like even when I went into the military, school was so easy for me. I went into the military like at 17 years old.
I know. What branch were you in?
Army. But I got a problem with authority. I got a problem with someone telling me something. So working for somebody, it just didn't fit.
Yeah.
Because at a young age, I was always taught that you dictate, you are the creator of your reality. Whatever you put in, you're going to get out. And so I was like, man, I'm making this much money for this particular company. What can I do on my own? Mm-hmm. But then there's a spin to that too. It ain't just that it ain't that pretty and easy, But you see it like that, right? You're like, man, if I can help this company make this money.
You think the business owner works a 9 to 5?
Right.
Right? He
Right.
goes home when everybody else go home, and that's
Right.
all it is. But it's far from that.
No, it's so
triple
far from that. It's
Yeah.
and as we talking about this, that's kind of like what I'm seeing right now. You have a lot of people who want to start their own businesses, but they don't understand. There's a difference between being committed and being convicted, right? And people are like, I'm committed to it. No, you're not. No, you're not. It sounds good. And so for me, growing up as a hustler, we slept when it was time when the job was done. When I sold the last steak or the last hamburger, that's when we went home. We was like, we're not going home until we sell the last, right? And then we right back up the next day. So for me, it was ingrained in me to just get up and go. Like I can't even sleep late now. I feel like, man, I'm lazy, man. If I sleep in, like, oh God, sun beat me up.
Yeah,
man, I gotta go. Something's wrong.
Now, as you guys both had your business going on for the past few years, what are some things that's helped you stay afloat or kind of stay in it? Because I'm sure with the businesses you're in, there's been times where it's like looking bad, like I might need to jump ship. But what's something that's kept you in it and helped you maintain that success?
Yeah, I know that one of the things that I think we all have to tell the story on is it's going to have really bad times. Entrepreneurship is not.
But what you call bad time though? What do you consider bad time?
I mean, I think the times where you really okay, am I gonna be able to open my doors maybe the next day? Like there's times where you might be overwhelmed and sometimes the numbers aren't adding up the right way, right? And everybody has their own storm that will have them thinking twice about forward, about doors open. But I think the fortitude from the inside, the passion, the conviction, and sometimes it's the partnership, because solopreneurship is very different. At Mariposa, we have a group of partners and owners that we work super well together, and I'm a big believer in a team.
And that's
aspect.
a rarity too, though. That's a rarity. Having a group of people that actually work good together for the same common goal. I think that's why you have so many solos, because it's so hard to find somebody who's going to put in that same energy, conviction, and dedication.
Or maybe it's naive of us to think somebody's going to have to put in the same, as long as they're playing a role that's very valuable.
Yeah.
You know what? If I'm putting in 22 hours, I might need you to be a little bit more fresh so you get you some sleep.
Right. Yeah.
I need you to think clear when I'm about to be dozing off, right?
Right.
So I think that it's about role playing. Everybody don't need to shoot the ball like Michael Jordan. I need John Paxson to come off the bench, or BJ Armstrong to have that stroke when he get the ball, though. We have to play our roles. And I think with team, we too often want everybody to be the Lakers when it was Karl Malone, Kobe Bryant,
Gary Payton,
Shaq, Gary Payton.
Karl Malone was on the Lakers?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh shit, I didn't know that.
And that team,
Exactly.
that team, if I remember correctly, we lost, because I'm a Laker fan. We lost to Detroit Pistons. But we had all the all-stars. I think too often we want everybody to be an all-star in the team. Whereas just like the recent USA Olympic team, they were butthurt about the last guy that got put on wasn't the guy who should have got put on. The better player didn't get put on.
Right.
But the coach said, I'm trying to build a team, not just a group of all-stars.
And I'm still at this level having that problem, because I come into my business with this same energy. I'm like, I need everybody at this level. I need everybody at this level. I need everybody to see it. And it's not going to be like that.
Nope.
It's not. And I still had it. That's my biggest challenge, that when I come in, I'm like, are you serious right now? I guarantee you there's something to do around here. There's something like and no one's going to ever see.
No, you're right about that, though.
Right. No one's going to ever see like, but man, I had this expectation. And again, that's my own, because I know the higher the expectation, the bigger the disappointment is every time.
For you, to piggyback what you just said, was there a point for you where you had to, in a sense, get an ego check to where you're feeling like you're doing everything? At what point did you take a step back and like, okay, I need to play a different role to kind of help the others, uplift them, and work in a cohesive unit?
I'm always reflective with my ego, because I know my partnership is with men only.
Okay.
And I know that all of us have egos because we're all very good in the roles we play. I've always thought that, everybody thinks their role is most valuable too. And that's the ego part.
Yeah.
But we have to understand you can have an engine and no gas and you're not going anywhere. So don't dismiss the gas because you're the engine, right? You could be the engine or the gas, or you could be the tires. No tires, you ain't going far even if you have gas in your tank. So it's understanding that we all have different roles, but they all are valuable and even invaluable to us getting to our common agreed goal and destination. While we're on a journey that's going to have pitfalls and going to have mountains that we go look up and be like, oh man, we killing it. But sure enough, on the other side of that mountain, there's a valley. So having that, I think, understanding that I walk with that I'm never too happy with the applause and I'm never too down about the boos. And when I balance that out, I think that it allows me to constantly reflect and be self-aware of who I am and also learning who my partners are.
Okay.
Right? I don't expect, again, to basketball, I don't expect Karl Malone to necessarily be dribbling through his legs running the point guard.
Yeah.
Right? I don't expect Dak Prescott to get me to the championship.
Yeah.
Oh.
I've been waiting to say something about them cowgirls.
And then Rob, for you,
You ain't gonna say nothing about that.
that's all right, man.
Yeah.
Which
you're not gonna acknowledge that.
people just be talking, man. They be delusional. So for you, what you just mentioned now, you said, you had these expectations for people. Do you voice these expectations to your team or your partners who you work with? And how can you, or have you thought about a way to uplift them to reach that standard?
Well,
Take your
let's
time,
talk about
Pastor.
the ego. Let's talk about the ego.
Go ahead.
Is the ego a bad thing?
Not always.
No.
But it can be. It can be detrimental.
Just like anything with power, it can be a bad thing.
Yeah, sure.
For me, my ego plays a part in everything that I do. And for me, at my business and my businesses, I let people know before I even hire you, I ask them, what are your goals? Do you have any financial goals? And they were like, well, why is that important? And I tell them because, one, my goals, my mission is probably 100 times bigger than yours will ever be. The reason why you need to have one is because when I correct you, you won't take it personal because you'll know that I'm doing everything I need to do to get closer to mine. And by default, you'll get to yours. When you don't have any goals and you come work for me, then anything I say to you is subject to be taken personally. So when I come in, there's a certain things of, I know they don't know what I know. And it's about teaching. No leaders were ever just per se born. They're created. And it's a combination of both. It's a combination the same way I am who I am as a father, as a coach, as a businessman. I am no different. I wear the same clothes. I talk the same way. In my house, we have values. At my business, we have values, right? And when you come in, you can ask any one of these kids or people that work there, what are the values? And that's how I operate. So when you say, do I teach them? All I got to do is go back to the values. Like our values that we have 4 C's: cleanliness, customer service, consistency, and charged up. If something, or not yet, when something is not right, I guarantee you one of those C's have been not held up to standards. And so for me, the teaching is in the values. Same way I raise my boys, the same way I run the business. And for me, that kind of helps me. Not that I need to justify it, but when I'm teaching, I get to say, that these are the values. This is what we stand for. And it's a lot because my why is riding on everything, which are my boys. So I ain't fucking around. I ain't fucking around with nobody. Either jump on board or get out. For real. Like everything that I'm doing is to raise my boys and to put them in a position where they can understand how to make good choices, period. That's my why. That's my boys are my ego. People are like, man, you are cocky. You're right. Because my boys. Yeah, I'm like my boys, I'm raising good boys to become great men. And in the world right now that don't want men around, I got to work 100 times harder. They surrounded by softness. They're surrounded by weakness. They're surrounded by ultra sensitivity right now, bro.
Take your time.
So when you come in my store, it's different. It ain't no, hey, how you doing? It's, yo, what you want? Take your first bite right here. Like, I'm teaching them to use their voice and every kid that comes in there. So my ego and my training and my leadership, it's all based off of my values of how I'm raising my boys, period.
And with you two both having, successful Black-owned businesses and things like that, and we recently had an event, Black Business Expo. What are some things that hold these Black businesses back? Entrepreneurs as well that were just starting out. What are some things that are holding them back from getting to that next level, and things we can do better to help each other?
I think every person has their strengths and weaknesses.
Yeah.
And one of the things that I've learned is, and I'll repeat this, is just being self-aware. You know what you're great at. You know what you're not. You know how serious you are about the business, about your hustle. You know when you're not. You know when you only give your business 2 hours a week versus 20 hours a day. And be true to thyself, and you'll be able to see the outcome with the input. Garbage in, garbage out. And a lot of times we're not willing to acknowledge in a reflective way, I'm not really putting in the work. My aha moment was I was working my career at Planet Hollywood, and I was doing a side business. And I said, man, for all the hours I give them, if I gave it to myself with the amount of money I'm making as a side hustle, I know I could grow exponentially. And that was the moment that I accepted that I would go full-time in my business. And anybody who has been in my atmosphere will be able to testify the amount of time I put into the businesses that I do, because I believe in it. Talk about the conviction of it, the commitment of it, and those things. You can't cheat the game. You can't cheat the process. You may think you're cutting corners, but the process and the game will let you know based on the results you get and don't get. And the fact of the matter is, business is not easy. It may be simple, but it's not easy. And the fact of the matter is, I think for a lot of us who go into this, arena, we have been painted a picture that is very naive about what it takes to reach whatever your stated goal is. Typically, there's a financial goal. Maybe you have an added goal when it comes to your why, be it your children, your family, never want to be broke, never want to have to be told to do something by whatever, that is. But in the midst of all that, it's what we give to it and what knowledge we have about what we're doing. We cannot be lazy in working to execute on our business. And a lot of times, those are two things that we major in, is the lack of knowledge and a circle around us, and then being lazy on it, because it takes a heck of a lot. I was listening to Jeff Bezos, and he said for about 16 years, he worked 18 hours a day. Mm. And again, a lot of times people think that he's an overnight success, and we're not willing to put in the work, or we don't understand that it requires the amount of work that it does. We think that because we see something and it's successful or it's popping or it's growing, that it just happened. It didn't take much. But reality is that it's so when right before we started, I had a thought and I was shaking my head, and you guys kind of saw it. But a lot of times it's a lot of stuff that you don't see, and that's where real business is done. And you'll find that in the habits of a man or a woman, whether or not their business is going to be successful. If they have poor habits, grand opening, grand closing. Mm.
You know I'm going there, right?
Yeah. Hold on, before you do, I like that you said that it was not overnight success. It was him 16 years of doing the hard labor and work. And that's what the podcast is about, Bamboo Season, and the story of the bamboo.
And that's why I laughed, because I was looking at the logo.
Yeah.
And I was thinking about the meme of this carrot, and majority of the carrot was underground, and all you saw was the leaf.
Yeah.
And a lot of times we judge a person based on the leaf, not the carrot that we don't see.
Yeah.
That's underground. But anyway, go ahead. I'm sorry.
So Devin is a unicorn.
Yeah.
And when I say he's a unicorn, because, he said it in the beginning, that a lot of things you did not get in trouble because you fear the consequences of them. What I've seen, and this is not just in business, this is in anything that has to do with getting ahead. 9 out of 10 people do not do what they do because they want to do it. They do it because they have to do it.
Yeah.
You got 1 out of 10 who's like a unicorn. They just wake up loving, they just love to do it, right? Like, my friend, her daughter is like 12 years old who wants to be a dancer. And all that girl used to do was just walk around the house, just twirling around. I got to go here. I got to go to practice. That's rare, right? And even for me, like, I don't go to the gym because I want to. I go to the gym because I have to. Right? Like, I had a back surgery. So I go there and committed to working and training there because I needed something to hold me accountable so I can stay in shape and stay healthy. I don't have or run a ice cream and donut shop because I want to. I do it because I have to, because I got 2 boys. And a lot of times that I see that people who get into the business and they feel like, oh, it ain't working out. Why are you really doing this? Because I guarantee you, when you are faced and pushed into this corner and about to get evicted, your car has been repoed, you about to be homeless, I guarantee you no one would have to tell you got to work 22 hours a day. But the majority of people who I see starting these businesses, their backs are not against the wall. And then they don't succeed. And they like, oh, the SBA didn't give me any money, or couldn't find this, and I couldn't find that, and we couldn't do this. No. Why are you really doing this? Why are you, and I don't knock anybody for whatever they do, but I'm like, but why are you really doing this? Because when you really are pushed into a corner to survive, watch what you're willing to do. Again, I'm 54 years old. I'm doing great. I was doing business consulting. I opened up a franchise that we've been open since November, and I work in there 7 days a week.
November what,
November 11th, Veterans Day. We opened
2023?
2023, right.
So,
so we're almost coming up on 1 year anniversary.
Okay.
I'm in there 7 days a week. My day starts at 4:45. Why? To make sure that the baker and the pastry chef is going to be there at 5. I don't even go to sleep until 11:30 till I hear the alarm of that business goes off. That's 7 days a week, right? 7 days a week, 17 hours a day. I'm doing some type of business in and out that store because I have to. And the majority of people who say they are not successful, I guarantee you, is because they have not been pushed in the corner where they have to do it. And they wonder why it's not really going. It's because, oh my God, I had this great idea of selling this and selling that. And it could be a great idea, but why are you really doing it? It's because you need $100,000 because your mom needs this surgery? Watch how you work. Watch how you become, like Quan said it, you become annoying to everybody about what you want to do, right? That's when you know you got something that you really are pushing because you become annoying with it. Everybody's got to know about it.
Yeah.
And that's where the grind and the hustle comes in from. And when I see a lot of these businesses and entrepreneurs like, oh yeah, I want to really do this. And you ask them why, they can't give me one. And they got so many resources around here. And you're like, hey, come do this. And then they don't show up. And you know, we just talked about this. And they don't follow up, right? And you're like, I'm trying to help you out. And then black people wonder why no one wants to help them out. Because you ain't hungry. You ain't hungry. I don't need to call you to follow up for something I'm trying to do for you. So why are they not successful? They ain't hungry. They ain't backs against the wall. They ain't starving. They ain't got to do it. People don't do a lot of things because they want to. They do it because they have to. And those who are not prospering or successful,
It's crazy you say that, because when I first started working for myself as a fitness coach, left both jobs and I went into it, and it was about 3 to 4 months in where I started second guessing things. Because now reality was hitting me like, damn, this is really your bread and butter. This is really where your money's coming from. Ain't no more checks. And I texted the gym owner where I train at, and I told her, like, hey, I think I'm going to put my 30 days in. I started looking at regular gyms, 9-to-5 gyms, like Lifetime, back to Orange Theory. I was thinking about going back. And I had to sit and tell myself, I love Eric Thomas. You know, he's the person I, inspired to be like. And I started thinking to myself, I'm like, man, bro, it's only been 3-4 months. And if you throw in the towel now, when it's getting it wasn't even bad yet.
But how long ago was this?
2.5 years now.
Okay.
This is literally the first 2022, in the very first 3-4 months. And business wasn't even bad yet. I still had a good clientele and everything, but then it just started to hit me like, am I really gonna be able to do this? Right before I was gonna throw in the towel, I just talked to myself. I was like, if you're gonna throw in the towel now, when it's getting a little rocky, you really ain't cut out to do this.
But did you really talk to yourself? Because
yeah,
let me ask you this. When I say talk to yourself, like, when did you have that accident?
2014.
2014.
Yeah.
I guarantee you that talk that you had, like a lot of things that we do is inspired by some type of trauma or whatever we've gone through.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And I guarantee you, your working out and your training comes behind that recovery that you had to go through.
Oh, yeah.
Right? Mm-hmm. And so I guarantee you, a lot of those times that when we have those type of traumas or whatever, that's that subliminal message of why I got to do this.
Yeah.
I got to, for you, I got to stay in, you got to stay in shape. You got to stay in shape. You know what it feels like to come and recover from what you did. Take it for granted if you want to.
And that's a great point, because I didn't think about that. That's literally in the back of my mind every time with anything, when I feel like, not that it's not impossible, but I remember that moment in that time in life.
How long you been sober?
70 something days.
90 something. Why don't you drink anymore? Because of what?
Because of that accident. Yeah.
You do not drink because you don't want to drink.
Well, I don't want to drink either. No
well, but you don't drink because you know what happened.
Yeah.
Right? A lot of things we don't do because we wanted to. Something happens where we have to stop it. We can never go back down that road again. That was me.
I also like what you said about, why should I check in with you when I'm helping you out? And something along those lines.
Yeah.
And it's crazy that about a year ago, I was working at the venue we were at, Devontae, he owns that rec center. I've been working with him for about 2 years now, and I literally just volunteered because I liked what he was doing, the vision he had. He gave me my first paid speaking gig. And all I did was add value to him. I never asked him for nothing. I never asked him to pay me, but I just showed up for him in a way I felt was needed, just adding value to him. I didn't even ask him to set me up with that. He reached out to me because he knew I wanted to be a speaker. He was like, AD, I got an opportunity for you, X, Y, and Z. And I got my first paid speaking gig just by being of service to somebody, not looking for a handout. Right. Kind of what I started with the podcast with, stop expecting people to put you in a position to win just because you're in close proximity. Are you adding value to them?
Yeah, but Devin just said it. You and I just had this conversation. Devin said it. I do what I do because I want to see who's going to show up consistently. Didn't you just tell me that?
Yeah.
You just said that. Like, I'm looking to see who's going to show up consistently.
Why do you think they don't?
Why do I think they don't? Because they don't want it. They ain't hungry.
What do you think?
I think that's a large part of it. I think that there is a percentage of life that happens, right? You got kids and the school is back in, maybe whatever. Maybe you can't make provisions because you live in Vegas, you don't have no family and whatever. I think also that we don't fully grasp the art of the possibility when they come into that room. I think we take for granted that I'm here, or I saw what it is. It's okay, because they don't know how to take advantage. And I say it all the time, what you don't know can kill you. What you don't know can hurt. What you don't know can hurt you. And as a result of that, for the lack of knowledge, my people perish. I said this at the expo. And I think that we don't understand how valuable a great network is. where you may not have a resource, but to say, hey, Dorian, I know you said you need this. Let me introduce you to this guy right here. I have a brother who has he's like a Home Depot, just not as big on the inventory side. But everything Home Depot has, he has. So he says to me, yeah, I have this bamboo stuff that's similar to steel, the steel rods when they laying down stuff. He said, gave me all the benefits of it. I said, well, let me call this architect. Called the architect, and now they're doing business on projects just because I was a resource for somebody else, right? And now he's getting a lot of business as a result of that. And I think that when we go to places, if we can't get exactly what we want at that moment, we don't understand that the relationships are far more valuable than just what I can get right now. And as a result, I think I've been there, did that, it's okay. So I think we don't understand how valuable things are in life when you are in a room full of wise, smart business people that can help develop your business, help develop your career, advance, things like that.
But isn't that ironic though? Because we as Black people, we all known for relationships and being connected and doing things together. But then at the same time, trying to follow up with one another is a lost art. Like we can be in a room and we can party all night and we can do all this like we do at the networking. And I'll get 20 cars in exchange and one person may reach back out. And the crazy part, you tell them before you leave here, text somebody. But people have in this mind that I'm only going to reach out and contact you based off of what I think I can get from your need versus let's build a relationship. That ain't happening.
I think it's a lot of transactional relationships. What can you do for me?
Right. But shit, I probably could do a lot for you if you just built the relationship.
We're not even having a transaction.
Right. We can't even get to the transaction.
We're not even transacting anything.
Not at all, man.
It's just where, and I think, again, a lot of it is not used to practicing. They're practicing the old ways of networking. And I talk about that all the time. Don't get a card and go home and now it's sitting on the dresser at nighttime. And now next week you haven't still contacted nobody. Now a month later you still haven't, right? We're still in that mode. So that's why I have to repeat over and over again. Reach out to somebody right now, set an appointment just to meet and connect next week. Well, their mind is, if I don't think I need you right now, then there's no reason to meet with you. No, brother, sister. Meet with somebody because they might be the door to open up to everything you've been waiting on.
The connector.
Yeah. They the resource. The other thing that I one of my principles in my company is I believe in making deposits before withdrawals. And that's how I operate. You talked about it. You went to the brother's gym and just supported, just volunteered. And I believe that I love to give and make deposits into people all day long.
Well, then I'm going to say this to you because I'm the opposite. And I say that because I'm always in it, what's in it for me.
Mm-hmm.
I'm in it. Like when I go, what's in it for me?
Mm-hmm.
But it doesn't always mean monetary.
Yeah,
sure.
Like even for them, I went into this and even I asked you the question, why are you doing this? But I turned around and asked myself the same question. Why am I going to this?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, I'm going because I know that I'm going to meet someone who's thinking like me or wanting to do something at this level. So I'm looking for something out of this. Like wherever I go, I'm looking to get something out of this, right? And I go in there, but I also know that to get what I want, I got to be able to give and help other people get what they want, right? Whether that's just speaking and pouring life, but I have to come into everything that I do with what's in it for me, right? I know it's going to translate or transition to money, but internally, what am I getting out of this? Because I don't ever want to just show up and go through the motion.
See, where I come from is a space of, I know that I live based on this principle, seed time and harvest, right? Mm-hmm. I know that if I plant seeds and I water the seeds, the harvest is going to come. So wherever I go, I know something is there for me.
Right.
Because I've already done the work. I've operated on a divine principle that says that no matter how or where I go, there's something that's going to arrive.
Well, I already
for
told
me.
you a unicorn, man. I just told
Nah,
you
but
that, man. Everybody don't
man,
think like
I'm
that,
not.
man. You know they
I'm
don't.
not.
Like I guarantee you, at this expo that we went to, everybody was there looking at how were they going to get something out of it. Who was going to buy my stuff from me?
Certainly.
You know that everybody there, and that's why somebody got butt hurt because you didn't ask them to be on the panel.
And it's unfortunate. I didn't ask them to be a part of it. She said, person said they felt some way that I've had these events and haven't thought about putting them in a position to make money. When I reach out to everybody and these people, to be honest, money's never in my idea. I never sell to the vendors like, hey, you come, you're gonna sell out anything. In my head, you're gonna meet some people and you're gonna get exposed to where it's gonna turn more than just money. I've met people, I've done things for free, spoken at events. I spoke at a women's empowerment event last year. I don't expect to get paid. My idea was, you know what? Somebody's going to hear my story. Somebody's going to see me. And in turn, like he said, it's going to come.
Next time you need to go get paid, though.
Fast forward. No, yeah, we're on that now. Fast forward, that event, a month later, one of my now client who's been with me now 7-8 months reached out after that, hearing me speak, and has now, like I said, been my client for now 7-8 months. She's a business owner, real estate mogul. She gives me gems during our sessions, and she's lost, 40, 50 pounds and come back on drinking.
Well, let me say this to you, and I think everything that Devin is saying is on point. I love to just watch and observe people, and here's what I saw or didn't see at the expo. I didn't see one vendor get up from the table, and maybe they did, I just didn't see it all, get up from the table and go to anybody on that panel.
Let me think. I'm thinking.
Now, I see you walk around and touch tables, but I didn't see anybody come up from their table, up to that panel, and ask any specific direct question to anybody on that panel. I see people walk and come back.
Unfortunately, you're correct.
What is it you would have liked them to or think they should be doing in that kind of space?
I'm there for an expo to get knowledge of how to grow my business. There's a panel up here who's talking about it. I don't know who's who, but when they done, I'm leaving my table and I'm going to talk to somebody. How did you get your restaurant going? What did you do financially? Talk to me about this financial education piece. There was so many different.
So let me say this. What would you say people should do when they are those newer entrepreneurs, right? Like the vendors and things like that. And they see somebody on the panel who is a successful businessman. They may feel not less than, but maybe even intimidated. Like, man, he's not going to want to,
Then again, what I just tell you, you ain't hungry enough. You don't want it bad enough.
Okay.
If your fear is not allowing you to go talk to somebody who has this wisdom and experience of what they've been doing, and you can't go up there and ask whatever you want to ask, I can tell you already, you're gonna lose. This is a hobby for you. This ain't. You're not trying to make this big. It's a hobby for you.
Yeah.
And honestly, you make just a salient point to the fact that you're right. Not one of the vendors went to any of the panelists, and I didn't observe it. I wasn't thinking that way because Devin knew that I was going to go around to every vendor regardless and buy something to contribute to their business or get their information, put them on my social media. I was going to contribute something to them, which is back to my principle of making deposits to people, right?
But they got to make a deposit into themselves.
They got to make it to themselves. Right. I agree. I can't control what they do and don't do.
Right.
Because my destiny is tied to what I deposit into other people.
I totally agree.
Right. So I'm going to go do my part because I know at some point it's coming back to me. Now, it's unfortunate that they don't get it, but that's why I think a lot of times the lack of knowledge of, hey, you're sitting in a room of some great people that can help you with your business.
So what do we got to do? I mean, how much more do you have to do besides I'm bringing the people to you? They are here. They are in the room with you. And the only thing you got to do is walk 20 feet, introduce yourself, and ask, how can I grow? Not one person. If you did not go to their table, they were not coming up to you to initiate that. And you ask a question, what's hurting young people from growing their business?
Yeah.
They're not seeking. They're not seeking how to do it. They want someone to give it to them. They want you me to deposit into them.
And weirdly enough, I don't even know if they even wanted that. I just think they just wanted us to buy products. And okay, that's where you are. But so again, you're seeking money right now when you have wisdom to help you to learn how to fish. You're seeking to fish.
Right.
Those people on that stage could have taught you how to fish, and you would eat forever.
And that's why I said, for me, when because I have to do it, man, everything I'm asking questions. I'm still at this level. I was probably like the only one who had an actual paper book journal taking notes.
The panelists did say, ain't none of y'all taking notes.
Right. Brought it up.
I brought out my journal. I was like, bop, bop, bop. Because here I'm still listening. I'm still listening for something that is resonating because I came into that looking for something for me.
So do you think people are not being as intentional as they should, and they're kind of just going just to say, I'm at the Black Business Expo?
I think they're doing only what they know to do.
Right.
And that's as far as it is.
Okay.
But the crazy part is when you even tell them and instruct them what to do, they still don't do it either.
Yeah, like good point, because at your,
I see it every other Wednesday, bro.
Yeah,
so they don't know and they do know, but they don't know and they do know.
For those of you who don't know, Devin does hold, bi-weekly networking events. He calls the Multiplication Network, where he brings all Black businesses in there and has them meet somebody that can possibly take the business to the next level. And he does have, not rules, but he states, go talk to somebody, go shake a new hand. Why do you think, as much as you pull it into their head, they still don't do it?
So,
why do they keep coming? Just to not do the same shit.
So I think that I think most people there get the standard part of networking, which is, let me go meet somebody, let me get their information. That's where it stops. The next part of it is not realize that there's work to do. And because it just seems easy, or we want the quick return of somebody exactly who I need, if it's not that, then why am I going to, like as I said 2 minutes ago, why am I going to sit down with somebody I don't even think that's not in my immediate need? And the fact of the matter is, that's exactly why you should meet with them.
Right.
Because they most likely will have that and more. And a lot of times, you don't even know what your immediate need is.
But you got to do the work to build the momentum that connects you and leads you to someone else.
Yeah.
I go to some place like we did at the event, and then someone says to me, okay, we got to take it to another level. You got to take your business plan and create a pitch deck for it, right? And then we can sit down and start talking. And I'm like, geez, now I got to go in and start doing my own homework and legwork on what does it take to create a pitch deck, right? Not knowing that the pitch deck is going to help me be able to present it to multiple people, not just the one person who told me. But we come there thinking that you're going to give me the secret key that's going to just open up the door. But don't get me wrong, that's not just at the networking event. I've been to different seminars all week.
All over.
And the hype that people have been for 3 or 4 days, and you may have 1% of the people who leave those seminars to actually go out and do the work. Everybody else just leaves motivated and hyped up for a week.
You go to real estate seminars, you name it, all those things, right?
Yeah.
And that's a difference between ordinary and extraordinary business owners and entrepreneurs. Those who succeed are extraordinary because they understand the work that I have to do begins with the moment I get that information, and now what am I going to do with it? The person that does something with it is a person that has longevity, that has success, profitability, you name it. All the things that we really want is tied to the work that we go do.
So I agree also with both what you just said and you said of people going to multiple seminars, webinars, networking events. They go, they get the high, like, yeah, I'm here, we doing it. But then it feels flat after some time. So a question for you both is, for somebody out there who's going to an upcoming networking event or upcoming seminar to learn something, what is something they can do differently to take away from it? So like they go to it, instead of feeling that high and not doing shit, what's a simple task they can do to kind of change that habit of doing the same thing?
I'll go ahead. Yeah.
Why are you going? It's that simple.
So ask themselves, why are you going to this event? Why are you going to this networking? Why are you going to...
When I first got talked about the why, I'll never forget. It was like the Simon Sinek book, everything starts with why, different things like that. And then I was in this networking company, and I'll never forget when she was like a mentor to me there. And I was like, oh, this is my why. So this is not your why. Or this is my why. That's not your why. And then she said, when your why don't make you cry, it ain't your why.
Mm.
And then that's when it came to my boys for me. Like that's my everything. Like everything I do and I don't do is based off of them. They are my why. I don't go to Mariposa because Rob wants to go meet somebody there or whatever. I go because of them. So when I step into there, I'm already stepping into this room looking for something that's going to help build on top of my why. So what can you do? You better have a hell of a why when you're going in there, because once you go in there, the perspective is completely different. I can tell you all day when you go in there, you got to have this, you got to have your journal, you got to have this, you got to have an open mind. For me, you better have a strong enough why of you're even putting forth your energy and time that is limited.
Mm-hmm.
I tell people I got more time behind me than I do in front of me. I'm not fucking around. I'm not.
And this is one of the reasons why also people don't do the work when they get the information right away, is because they haven't heard what Kobe said. Kobe said, your problem is you think you have time. Truthfully, none of us has any time, because we don't know what today holds. Tomorrow, we don't know what happens when we walk out of the parking lot. All we have is our now to maximize that. If we maximize the things like conversations and networking opportunities, then those maximizing moments will add up into some spectacular. But we always think there's time. No, I'll get it. I'm still young. I'm still this. I got time. I just started the business. I have time. I just went to my career. I just finished college. I just graduated. So what? What are you doing with it today? And I think that when we begin to move into that mindset of all I have is now, we'll start responding differently.
1,000%. My yeses and nos is based off of that. I don't have time. I got to find everything I can to teach my boys whatever I can. And not to interrupt you.
No.
It was like we're doing a fundraiser right now for the Children's Hearts Foundation with these kids with, these different heart diseases. Like 1 in every 100 in Nevada, the kid has some type of heart disease. And so, someone said, can we do the fundraiser? I'm like, yeah. Why did I say yeah? Because I'm like, one, you got to have somebody in there every day representing the organization. And I wanted someone and make sure they were there because my boys are in there. And I wanted my boys to hear someone else's story of things that they have gone through. So again, everything that I do, it ain't for me like, oh, I'm doing community work. I just want to look good. No, right? And so the kid came into the store who did his first shift of the fundraiser. His name is CJ. CJ's like 10 years old, right? Something like that. Maybe a little bit older, maybe 10. The kid has had 9 open heart surgery. 9, like chest pulled apart. And I'm like, he's telling me and my son this. And my son is like, whoa. So for me, and my son doesn't even know how that's going to play a role into his life down the road. When he leaves and he's like, holy smoke, I thought I had it, but then this kid, CJ, had 9 open heart surgery. Or the little girl who came in there at 3 years old, she had some type of heart arrhythmia where she had at a BPM of 203 at 3 years old.
Damn.
Right. Not even doing nothing. So my boys are hearing this. That's when, so when I say yes to something, it's got to be connected to my why. It ain't just monetary, because I know that this is a growth beyond anything that per se is on the front surface of money for being monetized. It'll be monetized later on.
Yeah.
But you're only going to match your income based off of who you are as a person and who you become. And so for me, it's got to be connected to that again.
You know, you made one thing in talking about this a lot. It makes me really think about not even maybe, but I always desired, and I talk about this, to have a different type of a networking experience. So instead of all of us shaking hands and getting cards, I sometimes bring in speakers, or we did a small SWOT or SWOC analysis that hopefully some people took serious. It was abbreviated, but we did it. But one of the things I think that you make a great point about is maybe we need to say, hey, listen, for the next 30, 45 minutes, we're going to start talking about and writing down about our why. Because a lot of times people don't understand that if you don't know your why, then you're going to give up. So let's dig the first layer of your why. And let's be honest, that's not enough.
Right.
So,
and now let's go to the second layer and the third layer.
Yeah.
And that's something I think that, at a certain point we definitely will, do as a group to bring more substance and value. Because one of the things that we don't understand, I think, in Black America is that the Black business and professional class, to me, has to be our protected interests. Because any group of people in America that don't have a business and professional class are no class at all.
Mm-hmm.
And we have to look at them as this group we cannot survive without. The reason why we're at the bottom of all the good things is because we don't have a strong business class.
That's it.
Our professional class, we have them. We need to grow them exponentially, but they're all disconnected anyway.
Right.
We got to connect the professionals to be able to also bring their expertise to the Black businesses, because that's where we need them.
Yep.
The Black businesses often don't have the capital to afford them. So professional, you got to say, I don't need all the money. You're in my interest, because I might need you to hire my little nephew, CJ, or Ray, or Dante. We have to look at things differently. And until we do, we're going to constantly act as if they mean nothing and we mean nothing to each other. Hence, we fail. We're last in everything good, and we're first in most things bad.
Oh, yeah.
So, that's great. As we wrap up here, I'm asked each question I ask everybody at the end is, what's one piece of information you would give to somebody listening or watching that can help them transform and grow today? Rob? One piece. Keep it short.
One piece. You just got to stop telling yourself some bullshit narrative. Like, I think for me, one of the things about learning about business to become successful was that I had to stop looking at all the money that could be made, and I had to start operating a business of what all could go wrong. I had to plan for more things that can go wrong so that I'm prepared. But a lot of us go into businesses thinking about all that it can be without, like you said, without understanding the storms are coming, the pitfalls, the disruptions of all the
AC
different
going
things.
out. I mean,
Right. Like, people don't think like that. People just think, I'm gonna get this store and everyone's just gonna love my products and they're just gonna love this and they're just gonna buy and tell everybody, right? My thing is preparing for the worst case scenarios. What happens? I need to get into a business that at any given time, someone doesn't show up, can I be there? That's how I prepare. I used to live on the other side of the town, right? Open up the store in Spring Valley. Guess what? Let me prepare. Something happens, how fast can I get to the store? Guess what? I bought a home that's literally 5 minutes from the store. I prepare for everything that can go wrong.
I like
so
that.
That would be mine.
And Dev, what about you? What's one piece of information you can give somebody to transform and grow today?
Be intentional about everything that you do, knowing that time is always of the essence. None of us have all the time we think, and God bless if we get to live to triple digits. But reality, I almost died 10 years ago. My heart was at 18%. So when I look at, and I'll close on this real quick. There's one of the most beautiful things I ever heard Steve Harvey say, and he's, has been controversial at times, but Steve Harvey said, I went from saying I got to do something to I get to do it. I got to do it when my back is against the wall is a level that most of us will and maybe should start at.
Mm-hmm.
We have to ascend and get to the mindset that says, I get to do this. It's a privilege that I get to wake up and go create, and I get to go support, and I get to go run a business. I get to do it. And if we just change the vowel and go from an O to an E, from I got to do something to I get to do it, I think it transforms everything that we do.
That's good.
Well said. I appreciate you both. Busy men, busy businessmen, coming here, taking time to sit with me, share your wisdom, share your knowledge. I'm very grateful I've met you both over the past few weeks to month and learned a ton just by being in the presence.
We're about 2 months in.
Yeah, and about just being in proximity with you guys. This is our year, Cowboys. I'm going to share both their information in the show notes. Once again, if you've been trying to change your drinking habits,
Easy.
but for some reason your actions aren't following
Don't follow the
what
Cowboys.
you want to
You
do.
won't drink. I'm just saying, right.
I got a free webinar coming.
If you don't want to drink,
coming.
don't follow the Cowboys. Okay?
If you're trying to make it this year,
Don't
like
follow
the
the
Cowboys, I'm here to help you change your drinking habits. Link is in the bio for my free webinar on September 17th. Once again, I'll put both their information. Follow them. Yonutz, Mariposa here in Las Vegas. Amazing donuts.
That's actually great marketing. If you want somebody to stop drinking, have them follow the Cowboys.
Here we go.
And then you can
This
coach them out of
motherfucker
not
here,
stop
man.
drinking.
Don't go to the donut spot. Go to Crumble instead. Thank you for tuning in, guys. Next week, I got Sadie Sanchez, Bamboo Season Podcast. 2 words, keep growing.